JustinFREAKIN is a formidable voice in the culture.
Hey Justin, are you trolling?
This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol Live. It's a freaking Thursday. It's Thursday. Yes, it's Thursday. Not doing the stream last night kind of threw me off. I'm pretty sure it's Thursday. Picked a great night to take a night off because totally nothing happened. Totally nothing happened yesterday. Dustin, Venus, Meat Cakes, good evening. We've got a situation we're going to be joining in progress here. There is a standoff. As I mentioned, nothing happened last night. It wasn't just another day in mass shooting USA in far more ways than one. There's one specific one that has overshadowed all the other ones that went on. And that one seems to be coming to an end here shortly, and we might actually get to witness it live on stream, as the suspect in the Maine mass shooting has had his home surrounded. They're being very careful right now, because it appears this dude is really highly trained in weapons and has like a fucking arsenal in his house. Apparently he went to his fucking house. They took them almost 24 hours to find the motherfucker. Where was he at? His fucking house. Ray, good evening. Purgatorus, good evening. We'll join that in progress here. The SWAT team has surrounded his house. They're apparently in no hurry to bust the doors down because they're afraid of all the fucking guns he has. Elon Musk was in tears on an earnings call for Tesla earlier in the week. Allegedly. Speaking of tears, conservatives are crying over the fact that Bud Light is sponsoring the UFC. Now, I've got a video from the quartering where Jeremy says that Dana White instantly regretted that decision. However, I have a video from Dana White that appears to show the opposite. It's almost like Jeremy is a fucking liar. UAW reaching a tentative deal with one of the big three automakers, winning historic concessions. Congress getting back to work yesterday. First order of business, the attempt to censure Representative Rashida Tlaib. Meanwhile, earlier today, the Democrats, for once sticking up for Representative Tlaib and proposing a resolution to censure Marjorie Taylor Greene. We could have a vote to expel George Santos by next week. George Santos, a man in need of a titty slap.
A titty slap! Give me those titties,
Come on now.
6, DJ Dub, good evening. I hit you with tonight's meme of the day. Oh my God, just pick a spot and go already. Also me, on page 120, the Pornhub results. I don't know what website that is. I've never seen that website before. As I said, it's just another day in mass shooting USA, multiple times over. We're going to take you to multiple manhunts. We're going to talk about multiple manhunts, multiple mass shootings. Oh, yay. It's such a fun show. Special Counsel Jack Smith saying that Donald Trump threatened Mark Meadows with his remarks outside of the courtroom where he's being tried on his civil fraud case, where he actually testified yesterday and was also hit with a $10,000 fine. Oh, a Jesus statue in Boston was vandalized. All that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. Welcome in. Good evening. I assume it's from an anime. I don't know. I really wanted side boobs. I wanted side boobs, and I couldn't find them. I didn't want to have it take up the whole screen. I wanted boobs to come in on the side, and I wanted them to be stationary, and then a hand come down and slap them, and they start jiggling. I could not find titties to make that happen. I could not find an image of titties to work that out. So you get this.
A titty slap!
I deserve a titty slap for not being able to recognize my vision. Oh, god damn. Let's go. We're going to we're on Fox News Live. This is not national Fox News. It's the local news service that local stations use. Fox News Live with the latest in Maine.
Of our patients and of our team members. We are providing 24-hour coverage of mental health and emotional health support for all of our employees.
So this is the live shot outside of Card's home. This was a
with community agents
press conference from earlier.
And somewhat distant for mental health and well-being of our patients. We again want to thank the outpouring of support that we've received. We're continuing to receive requests and offers to.
Let's check back in with that when we're back on the live shot. I have all kinds of things to go over. I was watching the live stream last night. I almost came on stream. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was watching this shit. So let's get the rundown of exactly what happened in Maine last night around 9-10 p.m.
Let's on the mass shooting in Maine. I'm David Ushery.
I'm Natalie Pascarella. Here's what.
And I do have the other feed up over here, so if something happens, I should be able to cut to it pretty quickly.
Right now, sadly, 18 people were killed, 13 others injured in those 2 shootings in the city of Lewiston. The governor describing this as a close-knit community about 30 miles north of Portland. Now, the shootings happened less than 15 minutes apart at a bowling alley and a restaurant. Right now, there's an all-out manhunt underway for the suspect, 40-year-old Robert Card. Police say...
Oh, you know it.
AR-style rifle and dangerous. 2 counties in Maine now being told to shelter in place, Dave.
Today, President Biden ordered flags across the country to be lowered to half-staff in honor of the Maine shooting victims. In a statement, the president called the tragedy, quote, yet another senseless and tragic.
Another day in mass shooting USA.
News 4's Paisy Cheng, who was on the scene in Lewiston, Maine. Paisy?
Well, David, the bowling alley is just up the road here behind me. A police car is still blocking off the street as this is a very active crime scene. Now, nothing is open around here, David. No restaurants, businesses, government offices, all closed today because of this shelter-in-place order. I can tell you that the mood in this town, very tense, very eerie, as the suspected shooter is still on the run. In the air.
And once again, they have surrounded his house within the last hour.
Massive manhunt underway in Maine for a killer.
But Mr. Card is considered armed and dangerous.
Heavily armed, apparently.
That Maine people should not approach him under any circumstances.
Police identifying the suspect as Robert Card, a 40-year-old enlisted in the Army Reserve with an active military ID. Police releasing these surveillance pictures showing Card armed with an assault rifle moments before he opened fire at 2 locations in Lewiston last night, killing 18 people, injuring 13 more.
2-4 Molson Way at spare time. There's an active shooter situation going on there, multiple patients. Captain, you have a second one. Second active shooter, Schmenges.
Police say Card shot up a bowling alley and bar about 5 miles apart.
We were inside and just normal night of bowling, and out of nowhere he just came in and there was a loud pop. Thought it was a balloon. I had my back turned to the door. And as soon as I turned and saw it was not a balloon, he was holding a weapon.
The injured rushed to multiple hospitals.
Over the next 45 minutes, we received a total of 14 patients.
Anxious residents waiting outside a local hospital, hoping to hear any updates about loved ones.
As one can imagine, it's your worst nightmare.
State police ordering residents in 2 counties to shelter in place, schools and businesses closed.
I'm in shock. I don't think anyone has digested it yet. I think that honestly everybody is still like, whoa.
The White House lowering flags to half-staff as Maine and the rest of the country mourn the lives lost.
No words can truly or fully measure the grief of Maine people today. Our small state of just 1.3 million people has long been known as one of the safest states in the nation. This attack strikes at the very heart of who we are and the values we hold dear for this precious place we call home.
Now, the lockdown affects this county that we're in. Lewiston is in this county, and then the other county affects Bowdoin, which is where the suspected shooter is from. As it turns out, there may have been warning signs that were ignored. We'll have more on that coming up at 5 o'clock. But for now, we are live from Lewiston, Maine. Hazy Cheng, News 4, New York.
Pacey, thank you. We're getting new details by the hour. Sources telling NBC News the gun used in the shooting was bought legally last year.
News 4
of course.
Reporter Jonathan Dienst in the newsroom. John, you have some new information for us on.
Give us the deets.
Yeah, 4 senior law enforcement officials familiar with the matter say investigators during a search of the suspect's home found a note, and they're now looking to see if that is a key clue that will perhaps help them in their search in tracking down the suspect. At this hour, hundreds of police and federal agents continue to search for Robert Card. He is, again, the...
Again, I've got a live stream over here. They have surrounded his home.
He's on the loose and is named as a suspect and wanted for homicide by Maine authorities. We have FBI, ATF, state police, local police, all joining in the search. Amtrak area, airports, all put on notice. All this after the suspect's vehicle, as you see there, was found a short distance from the shooting scenes, and he has not been seen since the second shooting and his abandoning of that car. His whereabouts unknown at this hour. Again, investigators searching his home. They found a note. And it is unclear, again, what's in the note. We've not been told yet if it was any sort of threat note, suicide note, but they believe that it is a significant clue that could help them in their search for Card, a search that remains active at this hour. Again, he was armed with an AR-15 type weapon, opening fire, shooting his victims, some of them teenagers in a bowling.
Well, Snicks, remember, this is the safest time ever to be alive. Also, killings in the United States have plummeted over the last 2 years.
Bowling alley, and again, this manhunt remains very active, but investigators hoping this discovery of a note in the home may bring them a step closer to finding the suspect. Back to you.
Chief Investigative Reporter Jonathan Dienst with the latest on the suspect. John, thank you. Tonight, Lester Holt is anchoring a special edition of NBC.
Shut up, Lester.
With a powerful interview with the man who learned today that his son is among the dead. Leroy Walker Sr. says he spoke with his son Joey daily before he went to work at the bar Shemenji's. Now, his family waited about 14 hours before they heard from state police that Joey was dead. Leroy shared.
He gave comments last night. I believe this is the same dude, and it tore me up.
Bring in News Center Maine's Jack Moment, who we've been talking to throughout the evening. He's been outside of Central Maine.
This is from last night.
Those families have friends, loved ones come together to try and make sense of what happened, track down their loved ones. And Jack, I think you spoke to a local city councilor about what's happening there.
I did, Zach. That's correct. I did speak with Leroy Walker. He is the Auburn City Councilor for Ward 5. As we were standing here over the past few hours, it's been relatively quiet, but he pulled in his car, just walked into the hospital, walked right out, came up to us, says that his son is actually the manager at the bar in Lewiston, Schmeggy's, and he said that he hasn't heard from his son since the shooting took place. He said he's called around to various hospitals and still has not heard from his son. All of the hospitals in the area have said that they have not heard of him at all either. So we had a conversation, as many of the families.
This is heartbreaking.
At Central Maine Medical Center have been really telling me all this time is that they really just don't have answers about how their loved one is doing. But in speaking with Leroy, the city council for Ward 5, you know, he's confused, he's frustrated, just like many of the parents that we've been talking with as well. We did get a chance to speak with him, and he kind of talks about how some of it's really setting in on him, that there's a possibility that his son may be dead.
If you had my gut right now, I feel like I'm squashed with a vice. My neck and the back of my head feels like there's a vice squashing it the other way. And I don't know, telling you the truth, what kind of night this is going to be from now until tomorrow when I wake up to the true facts that my son is dead, and I know he's dead. I know it as well as I know. I'm standing here telling you because he's not here and he's not at any other hospital and he's not running the streets, so he would have called us because he manages Scheminge's. So I know he was there.
Apparently we've confirmed that he is indeed
and he
dead.
Still doesn't have any answers right now. He said that these next 24 hours will be critical depending on if he gets information or not. He says that he talks to his son nearly.
Broke my heart when I heard that man speak last night. The NRA has been hemorrhaging membership since about 2017. There was an internal power struggle. There's all the reports about Russian money that was being funneled into the NRA. And it's not just... a lot of it has to do with, public sentiment really turning the way that we need to do something about all the gun violence in the country. But it also has to do with the internal politics of the NRA. And basically, it was a scam funneling Russian money.
Police in Maine are still scrambling to find the suspected shooter who opened fire in a small city last night. As the search continues, we are learning more about the events leading up to the series of mass shootings. Rebecca Castor is in Lewiston, Maine with details. Rebecca?
Good evening, Scott. We are standing just feet away from the bar and grill, the second location where the suspect carried out his shooting rampage last night. You can see it's still an active crime scene as this massive manhunt is still underway.
We cannot and we will not rest in this endeavor.
Authorities in Maine are searching for a 40-year-old firearms instructor and Army reservist in connection with a series of mass shootings in the town of Lewiston. More than 24 people were killed or injured. Police say they are now looking for a motive.
You say triggering event, that's a motive for us, and that's not something we're prepared to discuss today.
More than 100 federal and local investigators are assisting with the case. It began just before 7 p.m. Wednesday night when police responded to shooting incidents at a bowling alley and a bar.
Shit, I had the time frame
believed to be
wrong.
The suspects was later found at a boat ramp miles away. Experts say the suspect's known mental health issues and military experience make this a difficult case for investigators.
Dozens of agencies responding all in their own manner, trying to get organized. That takes hours, literally hours, multiple locations.
Schools and offices across the region remain closed on Thursday. This community now trying to make sense of the violence.
You see it everywhere else, but you never think it's going to hit home. It's scary. You know what I mean? It's got everybody nervous.
And it's nightfall.
Go ahead and cut. Like this was from a couple of hours ago on one of the local Maine stations. Let's go to Fox Live Nation. They have a camera outside of the suspect's home where they have him surrounded, apparently.
The data and the statistics behind it, and so many people are so on edge and are so just shaken up by everything that has occurred, especially because this very dangerous individual still remains on the run. Some of our crews and team that are on the ground there have been talking with residents. Let's play out some of their reaction right now, and then we'll be bringing you more of these live images that are coming in as police currently are surrounding the suspect's home.
I don't know that I was ever scared. I think last night I described it as numb. You just didn't really know how to feel. Like, you're just sitting there and you're making sure that everybody you know is okay. Making sure that, everybody's home, being safe. My dad lives in a rural town not too far from here. He's like, well, do you need to come here? I was like, well, they're telling us to shelter in place, but if my husband goes to work and then helps a friend out in Turner tomorrow, I told my dad, I was like, we're gonna just come and hang out with you guys. Like, I don't fully feel comfortable, especially this person or people haven't been caught yet.
I woke hoping that he was caught. I slept on and off for about 2-3 hours, and first thing was to check my phone. Is he alive? So my first thoughts are, is he still alive? Is he still out there? process of grieving and, you know, moving forward. How do we move forward? Feeling as a community, we're numb, we're hurt, we're, you know, like how can you feel safe again? How can we send our kids to school? How can we go to the grocery store to go shopping? Like how are we supposed to move forward when there's people out there that aren't getting the help they need? Our country, our city, our state, we need mental health. I just ask that everybody pray for our city, pray for our people, because we are mourning, and we are going to be mourning for a long time. We haven't even got on a list of people yet, and I'm dreading that.
Thank you. All right, hearing from some community members, they're obviously very shaken up. In the meantime, we do know that right now police are surrounding the home in Bowdoin, Maine, where the suspect lives, and they are communicating inside of the house. Now, we don't know 100% that Card is inside of there, but there has been communication with him if he is, saying, put your hands up, come out of the house, you're under arrest. Let's give you a live picture right now out of Bowdoin, Maine. And this is what we're seeing. We have a couple of these images that are coming into us. This one also, a better angle here, I would say, of the house. As you can see, a bit of a light that's kind of shining on it there. A lot of blue and red lights there in the distance as well. Hundreds of law enforcement officers attempting to locate Card, who is described as armed and dangerous. He's been on the run for over 24 hours. And we talked with a former FBI agent. I told him one thing that came to mind for me is just a couple months ago, we were covering the escaped prisoner out of Pennsylvania who was on the run for nearly 2 weeks. And that was also a man that was described as armed and dangerous, accused of murder. And so obviously the manhunt for him went on for a while, and he was experienced in terms of being a survivalist. And now we know that Robert Card as well, he has a lot of experience. He's also very dangerous in terms of his background. I'd also like to address this too while we're at it. And this is a tweet from Fox's Liz Frieden. She's a producer at the Pentagon for us, saying new info on the suspected shooter, Robert Card. The Army did not train him as a firearms instructor, nor did he serve in that capacity for the Army due to the Privacy Act and ongoing investigation. We cannot provide further.
Well, they have communicated with somebody inside of the home. We don't know if there are other people in there with him.
And his history there, but we also do know that in terms of...
Apparently they have made contact, the hostage negotiators, or the FBI negotiators,
by not only Fox,
or SWAT team negotiator, whoever the fuck it is.
Talking about...
True, never stopped him before.
Came to light in mid-July, and the concerns of how he was able to still have such dangerous weapons in his possession that led to this tragic incident, mental health issues.
He apparently has a whole arsenal.
Not only here in the United States, though, this tragedy, a lot of questions of how this could have been prevented. Not only this one, but anytime we talk about a tragedy, a mass shooting,
well, new tonight,
there's always these questions in the aftermath of it all. But as you heard from hospital staff moments ago, they just want to get this person in custody. They want people to feel safe in their homes again. You heard from that resident just moments ago saying she doesn't know if she should leave to go to her family member's house because the advice had been to stay home and not to leave if you don't have to, because they still have not located Robert Card. So a lot of people will be able to sleep easier once they know that this individual is in custody. And again, we don't know for sure that he is inside of the house, though police are communicating as they now have a search warrant, and they have to be very careful if he is. This man is...
They're afraid of getting shot is what it is.
He knows what he's doing, and they have to be very strategic about how they approach a situation as dangerous as this one. Now, law enforcement officers, as we said, could be heard yelling over a bullhorn saying that you're under arrest, put your hands in the air, we'd like to speak with you, walk to the front of the truck with nothing in your hands. We want to do this safely for you and everyone else, telling him to put his hands in the air to walk to the front of the truck.
I think it's cowardice. I think that they are afraid this motherfucker is going to open fire on them.
Now, but as this is going on, this has obviously been circulating on social media. This has been something that we've been reporting on here, as we always do when things are coming in live, raw, and unfiltered, speaking with our reporters who are directly there on the ground. But that's when Maine State Police took to their own Facebook page to clarify that they don't know 100% that Card is inside of the residence. So I do want to read that statement from Maine State Police that they
apparently there is SWAT on the scene.
So on Facebook, Maine State Police went on to say law enforcement officials are currently on Meadow Road in the town of Bowdoin to execute several search warrants, which is, of course, what we're taking a live look at right now. The announcements that are being heard over
froze. They're removing the light.
Standard search warrant announcements when executing a warrant to ensure the safety of all involved. It is unknown whether Robert Card is in any of the homes law enforcement will search. Law enforcement officials are simply doing their due diligence by tracking down every lead in an effort to locate and apprehend Card. This incident obviously happening at a property connected to Card in Bowdoin, Maine. We've also been showing you images out of Lewiston, which is about 20 minutes or so away from where the suspect's home is. And we also know that there's been a police helicopter circling the residence as well. Officers had previously left this area, then they came back a short time later, and it was just recently, within the last hour or so, that we heard them communicating.
You see movement down there.
Whoever could be inside the residence, again, waiting to see if it is potentially Robert Card himself who has been home this entire time over the last 24 hours, though we don't know that at this moment. Let's leave the shot up here for just a moment. We're going to check it out.
He would have a good shot at them from that window, so I'm not exactly sure that they believe he's in there. So I wonder what's going on right now. I wouldn't expect them to walk in front of their vehicles like that. I would expect them to walk on the other side so that they are covered. You see the light shining right on that window. He would have a direct shot, apparently has multiple long guns. That's one of the reasons why they're being so cautious. So I've said it multiple times. Apparently has a fucking arsenal in his home. That's what we're watching right now, DJ Dub.
All right, we are continuing to watch here. Law enforcement surrounding what is believed to be the home.
They have multiple shots. This is just the one they're taking right now.
Bowdoin, Maine.
They had a close-up with the window up earlier.
To the inside of the home, though we don't know that Card for sure is in there. Obviously, a massive, massive manhunt underway.
See, now they're on the other side of their armored vehicle.
And Dangerous is on the run now for 24 hours. And really every time we get into a situation like this, the overnight hours, that's when it becomes particularly challenging. The wooded areas that surround this portion of where these incidents happened, not only in Bowdoin, but also in Lewiston, and also just some of the challenges that come with it being dark, the terrain, really all of that together.
What a quaint little area, too.
That we're entering into the overnight hours as this manhunt continues.
Looks like a lovely place to live.
Attempting to locate Card, again described as armed and dangerous. The mass shootings that happened over 24 hours ago now, they took place at 2 locations.
I mean, you say porn for chuds, but we're watching it too.
There's still a lot of questions surrounding the circumstances of it as well. How planned was this? Was this targeted for any reason? So many different thoughts that come to mind when you see such a tragic event happen, such as this one. But the 2 locations, a bar and grill, the other one was a bowling alley. They were about 4 miles away from one another. That mass shooting.
Fair enough.
At least 18 people killed and 13 injured. We've also heard.
I've probably got more anger and disgust.
On the mass shooting in the White House briefing today, speaking on behalf of the president.
Anger that we can't fucking do anything about this shit.
Statement though on this, and we've also heard from the Maine governor.
I was getting ready to move to the next story, but it appears there is
residents to continue to
something going on here. They're moving their armored vehicle.
Has to give. So as we watch here, we'll continue to turn up the volume to see if we're getting any other information. So let's do that right now. Let's see if we can hear anything as we watch.
Oh, they're moving in. Well, here we go. I mean, I was kind of expecting them to find him dead.
Okay, so what you can hear there is that there is a helicopter that's circling the suspect's home right now as other law enforcement members surround the house as well. You can see a little more movement there too. It looks like some sort of...
Yeah, ma'am, they're moving in.
Vehicle may have pulled into the driveway. Again, kind of difficult to see for all of us here as it is very dark. Also, you can see some law enforcement movement on the ground there. Let's see if we can take another shot here, if we can see anything any better. So you can see a bunch of law enforcement members as well that are on scene of the home here. Again, have to be very, very careful about how they approach this situation.
You'll feel like they're being kind of casual.
That card could be inside, though we don't know 100%.
Perhaps they believe he has...
You'll remember that his vehicle,
shot himself.
His car, his Subaru, that was located yesterday evening. So a lot of questions about where he could be, how far he could go. Also heard me ask earlier on to our friend of the program, Greg Rogers, former FBI agent, how likely it could be that someone could potentially be helping him in this. And there's just really a lot of unknowns right now. A lot of
probably not likely that somebody is helping him. This is
how do we bring this
textbook lone wolf behavior
into custody. Now let's also just go through the timeline here of this mass shooting. Again, 18 people killed, 13 others injured, 2 separate locations Wednesday evening. As that manhunt continues to intensify across the state. Not only that, other major cities on high alert, New York City for one, NYPD speaking about the efforts that they're putting in as we get this closer up look at the suspect's home here. Now, this all unfolded yesterday, 6:56 p.m. That was when the Auburn Communication Center was alerted of an unidentified man that walked into a bowling center, which was recently renamed from Spare Time Recreation, that's the name of it now, from Just in Time Bowling. And
Just in Time.
This individual began shooting. Police said multiple 911 calls followed that and confirmed the shooting. Then at 7:08 p.m., the Auburn Communication Center received multiple calls that a man had entered a bar and grill about 4 miles away on Lincoln Street and opened fire there.
Meckies.
And police said that multiple law enforcement agencies and emergency medical personnel were immediately then dispatched to both of those locations. Around 8:06 p.m. yesterday evening, police finally released a photo of the alleged shooter to the media for us to give that information to you. That surveillance photo showed a man that was wearing a brown sweatshirt and holding a rifle while walking through the doors, decorated with bowling pins and a bowling ball. Obviously, a lot of images that we were getting as we were trying to spread the word as quickly as possible. This is who the public needs to know about. Do not approach this man. He's considered...
Yeah, one guy, and I think I have his...
We're seeing a little bit more activity, a closer up
his statement to
of the window of this home.
Reporters.
Again,
actually crawled into the machinery
continuing to surround the house now as they get ready to...
of the bowling alley to avoid the shooting.
At the home, a helicopter also circling overhead as well. Let's see if we can get some more sound on this. Okay, so no sound here on this shot. We may be able to get a little bit further back here. And there you can kind of hear the helicopter that's circling above the house. So we have a couple of different angles that we're monitoring. We also have a live image coming to us out of Lewiston as well. So we're monitoring that in the meantime too. But back to the timeline. It was at 9:26 p.m. that the Lewiston Police Department received a call who identified the man in the photos as 40-year-old Robert Card of Bowdoin, Maine. At 9:56 p.m., the Lisbon Police Department notified Lewiston Police that it had located a white Subaru at a boat launch.
What's sad is this is like, what, the 7th, 8th manhunt we've watched live on this stream? Since I've been doing this 3.5 years.
Federal, state, local agencies, you name it, are continuing to search for him. Again, authorities continuing to stress that he is armed and dangerous. We're also learning more about his background as well, his extensive training with firearms, that he also had mental health issues, including hearing voices and threatening to shoot up the National Guard base in Saco, Maine. More information about him as well, that he is a petroleum supply specialist in the Army Reserve, having enlisted in December 2002. That's according to an Army spokesperson who told Fox News, adding that he has had no combat deployments. Officials still have yet to name publicly any of the 18 victims. And as of this morning, 10 of the victims had yet to be identified.
Dozens injured. On top of the apparently 16, 18, I've also seen 22
6 males were
fatalities.
Killed in a bowling alley, which was holding a youth league at the time of the shooting. We've been hearing a lot of questions about the ages of the victims, though none of that has been made very clear to us from either the hospital staff, nor police, nor lawmakers that we've all heard from today. We also know that
it's unclear the exact number, but it is over 15.
3 additional people died after first responders rushed them to Central Maine Medical Hospital in Lewiston. An additional 13 people also injured in the shootings.
No, it was a couple dozen, I thought, that were injured.
So we'll see what happens here.
You just said 13.
Is executed. And as we learn more about if the suspect...
But injuries doesn't necessarily mean shot.
...of the home.
Apparently there were a lot of injuries sustained as they were trying to flee the scene.
Trying to get a better look here of this window activity that we're...
If you're just joining us, like Warlord, they have moved in on this house.
So we're going to keep an eye...
We don't know for sure that he's in there, but they have made contact with somebody inside the house.
Picture. This is out of Lewiston, where we're getting a lot of police activity as well. We're going to take a quick commercial break here. Obviously, we have a lot more to show you here as we continue on with our coverage. This could be a very long evening ahead if the suspect is inside of the home, if they are potentially going to be negotiating with him.
We're seeing a lot of movement, though.
This manhunt continues, whether he's inside or not.
So I think something has happened.
Be done as law enforcement works to try to find this very dangerous individual who has killed 18 people in a horrific mass shooting in Maine. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
They're going to take a break. I'm going to keep that feed up. Go ahead and move to our other mass shooting. I'm not sure that anybody was actually... I don't know that anybody was killed in this one. But clearly the shooting we've been monitoring. Also, Dustin, good evening, Warlord. Notochondria. Venus, not sure that I gave you a shout out. Welcome in, everyone. I am not sure that anyone was injured in this one that happened in Vegas, but we have footage of a suspected gunman shooting inside of a luxury condo.
That could have been deadly and disastrous, prevented by a security guard. We're getting a first look at the terrifying moments a gunman stormed through a luxury condominium complex and started shooting. Our Alyssa Bethencourt walks us through what happened that day.
Video obtained by Channel 13 shows 32-year-old Andrew Warrender walking through Turnberry Towers with an AR-15 style rifle in his hand. As he started to shoot, his gun jammed, and that's when a worker was able to take him down in the parking lot. It's just after 3 p.m. on June 23rd.
This happened in June.
Warrender, seen here wearing a blue t-shirt and jeans, enters Turnberry Towers. According to police, he had an uncle living at the complex, giving him easy access inside. After grabbing an AR-15 style rifle from inside his uncle's condo, Warrender made his way through the building, walking downstairs, through hallways, and even waiting for an elevator. Moments later, he opens fire in the lobby. As he walks toward the building's entrance, Warrender points his rifle at employees hiding behind the front desk. The video shows he was only able to fire off one shot before the rifle jammed. As Warrender worked to fix the malfunction, a Turnberry employee stepped into action and fired back, striking Warrender several times in his legs and stomach.
Good work.
He then approaches Warrender and holds him at gunpoint until police arrive.
Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up.
A grand jury indicted Warrender several months after he was released from the hospital.
Now, Warrender is set to stand trial in February. Meantime, he's been released from jail on a $25 million bond. Reporting from Karen in Paradise, I'm Melissa Bethencourt.
They let him out? He's free right now? What the fuck? Good work to the hotel employee, the hotel rent-a-cop, I guess. But then the cops just kind of like saunter on up. Like nothing's going on. There's a lot of movement over here. Let's see what we've got. Let's go back to Maine.
Shooting who killed 18 people, injured 13 others, 40-year-old Robert Card, as this manhunt continues to intensify for a very dangerous individual. So we're getting all of these different images in. This one here, obviously, we've been getting some of these closer up shots of the home. We also have some ground shots as well of emergency vehicles on the scene there. It's hard to tell if our crews have moved closer at this point, if potentially law enforcement, some of them might be leaving, but they've been on scene here executing a search warrant. So there has been a lot that has been happening here, especially in the last hour or so. So we're going to continue to monitor this very closely. In the meantime, though, we do want to get into some other headlines as well.
Yep, me too.
To follow this, and it could be a long evening when it comes to all.
I don't know. All this movement would kind of indicate that something has happened. If I had to guess, he's probably dead. I would like. Usually, suspects like this would kill themselves, take their own lives. We know that there was a note left, and we don't exactly know what the note said. Now, we just watched footage from Las Vegas of a shooting inside a condo in June, and the police, like most police, seemed inept. Apparently, there are many accusations against the sheriff, the Las Vegas police, and elected officials are complicit in reinforcing a blue wall of silence against this very police sheriff.
Well, 13 Investigates is committed.
Freedom, good afternoon. Good evening.
Transparency when it
whatever time it is.
Officials. In early September, Chief Investigator Darcy Spears reported on allegations of misconduct and violations of police department policy by Sheriff Kevin McMahill. Well, tonight, Darcy continues trying to break down the blue wall of silence.
Sheriff Kevin McMahill claims to know who he answers to.
I get to run this police department. I answer to all of you.
Those words from a public program on policing at the Mob Museum in July, where he also detailed who he doesn't answer to.
So the mayor doesn't get to tell the sheriff what to do. The city council doesn't get to tell the sheriff what to do. The county commission.
And that's true. Sheriff McMahill is an elected official without any group or body of people responsible for overseeing him.
I'm not asking for your blind support. When we make a mistake, we'll fess up. And we mess up, we fess up, right? And then we're going to fix it.
We decided to go to other elected officials to see what they would do. We're coming to this body after our multiple attempts to get this directly addressed by Metro have failed. On Monday, 13 Investigates sought input from County Commissioners Michael Naft and Jim Gibson and City Council members Cedric Creer and Francis Allen Polensky. They make up most of Metro's Fiscal Affairs Committee, the body that oversees and approves the department's budget as well as any legal settlement comments for Metro's alleged misconduct. Metro Sheriff McMahill has told Channel 13 that he holds himself and all Metro employees to a very high standard of conduct.
Doubt.
Yet he has refused to address rampant rumors about his own alleged violation of department standards. Those alleged violations and rampant rumors align with what multiple sources have told 13 Investigates, that Sheriff McMahill is believed to have had an affair with a subordinate member of the department who is still employed at Metro. Neither the sheriff nor any
That doesn't surprise me.
has denied the allegations. When asked, Metro's Public Information Office said, "We don't comment on personnel matters." But these rumors go far beyond being a personnel matter. If true, it's at a minimum a conflict of interest and potentially abuse of office, abuse of power, and violation of the public trust. The subordinate in question is classified as an appointed employee. According to Metro's Personnel Policies Manual, appointed employees serve at the discretion of the sheriff. He determines their salary, their promotions, and they can be terminated by the sheriff at will. As for the sheriff himself, well, that's why we went to the meeting, because who holds him accountable? As elected officials, it is your obligation to get to the bottom of this and to ensure accountability if the alleged violations of Metro standards and ethics have occurred. That would be including conduct unbecoming an employee and acts evidencing moral turpitude. We look forward to following up with each and every one of you to see what, if any, action is warranted and is taken. Thank you for your time. None of the committee members addressed the allegations or asked any questions after I spoke. Sitting just feet away, the sheriff listened in silence, leaving as the public meeting, which lasted less than 10 minutes, was adjourned. Following Monday's meeting, I called and emailed the 4 Metro Fiscal Affairs Committee members in attendance. In a conversation about another matter, Commissioner Jim Gibson told me he had no comment on the allegations of misconduct involving the sheriff. We have not heard back from any of the other committee members. In our last report, we detailed the many attempts and ways we tried to reach Metro for answers before attending Monday's meeting, all of which were stonewalled. You can watch that story at ktnv.com. Darcy Spears, 13 Investigates.
A corrupt police department. Who would have thunk it? As I said, covering multiple manhunts. Manhunt underway in Maine. A manhunt took place over the weekend in Tennessee, where the son of the Nashville police chief went on a shooting spree. Actually took out a couple of cops.
Our other top story tonight, a 4-day manhunt ends with dozens of officers converging on a Nashville neighborhood. Tonight, witnesses recount the moments John Drake Jr. took his own life. Drake Jr., the estranged son of Metro's police chief, John Drake, he was wanted for shooting 2 Laverne police officers. Tonight, News 2's Mai Owens walks us through the twists and turns of this case from the very beginning to the dramatic end.
The series of events started last Friday before any shots were fired. A woman walked into the Laverne Police Department saying she and John Drake Jr. were engaged but had an extensive domestic violence history. Then, Saturday, officers were sent to investigate a stolen vehicle flagged by Laverne license plate readers.
We have a shooting incident. The shooting is involving 2 of our officers.
Officers Ashley Bolajak and Officer Gregory Kern responded to a Dollar General. While on the scene, authorities say the 2 officers ended up in a struggle with Drake Jr., who pulled out a handgun and shot them both. Viewer video taken of the scene would detail the chaotic aftermath. The officers were taken to Vanderbilt University Hospital, and Drake Jr. was on the run. A
little on edge.
Police releasing photos of Drake Jr. as the suspect. Search efforts stretched late into the night. Drake Jr. was wanted for first-degree murder, considered to be armed and dangerous. On Monday, a plea from Drake Jr.'s mother.
If I could talk to him, I just want him to come home and turn himself in. I would be hurt that he is locked up, but I will feel better because I know he's alive.
Then on Tuesday, 4 days into the search.
Some guy just robbed me at gunpoint and took my car.
According to police, Drake Jr. opened her car door and asked for a ride. When she said no, investigators say he stepped back, pulled a pistol, and ordered her out of the car.
No matter how many cops there already were here, there was still so many coming by. And I heard some stories from other people where they heard this loud bang.
Car stopped, crashed. Drake Jr. fled from the vehicle into a shed behind a residence on 15th Avenue South. While the officers were surrounding the residence to contain the shed, a gunshot was heard, and it appears that he has died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
My Owens, News 2.
And today, News 2 talked to Drake Jr.'s mother on the phone. She told us, quote, "I've always been there for him, always trying to help. I hate that he had to do that to get away." Chief Drake also issued a statement saying, in part, "It was my prayer that no harm would come to him or anyone else.
Prayer.
I am heartbroken and saddened by this outcome." To read his full statement online, you can head over to WKRN.com.
The son of the Nashville Metro Police Chief. They found him dead, much like the suspect. This was a story we covered last week in Maryland. Man killed a judge that was presiding over his divorce case. There was a manhunt for him. That manhunt is now over. He has been found dead.
The body of the man accused of killing a Maryland Circuit Court judge. Hello, everybody. I'm Nikki Zizaza.
And I'm Rick Ritter. Welcome to those of you watching on CBS News Baltimore and right here on WJZ. And there is no doubt about it. There is a sense of relief tonight in Western Maryland. Now that Pedro Argote is no longer on the run after being found dead in a wooded area.
WJZ is live in Hagerstown right now. Stefan Dingle with what we know tonight. Stefan.
Well, Nikki and Rick, a good evening to you. The Washington County Sheriff said they found Pedro Argote's body around 11 o'clock this morning in a wooded area not far from where his car was found. He also says this community should breathe a little easier tonight now that this manhunt is now over.
We're going to catch this guy. It's just a matter of time.
That time came Thursday morning, a week to the day since Maryland Circuit Court Judge Andrew Wilkinson was gunned down in the driveway of his home just mere hours after he finalized the divorce of Pedro Argote from his wife and denied him custody of their children after testimony revealed violent abuse and control of his own family.
The Washington County community can breathe a little easier this afternoon. Murder suspect Pedro Argote was located deceased. This morning, Maryland State Police, along with other resources,
I didn't want to make a joke about Dingle.
Expanded systematic searches and in a heavily wooded area between Clear Spring Road and Bottom Road.
Argote's car was found just a mile northwest where authorities located his body. Sheriff Albert says when they made the discovery, he personally delivered the news to Judge Andrew Wilkinson's family.
It's relief, but it's still a tragedy that we're dealing with. Most of us up here, we just came from Judge Wilkinson's viewing, met with the family. They were very depressed.
It pisses me off, dude. If you're going to fucking kill yourself, why didn't you just do that? Why'd you have to take an innocent person with you?
It brings a little bit of closure to them, but it's still a tragedy. They lost a husband, a father, and a brother. So
let's go ahead. We'll flip back to Maine right now where they're talking to one of the local reporters.
Lexi, and actually law enforcement presence is starting to pick up here as well. There was just about a handful of officers that just walked by and started walking down to the second scene that the gunman killed 8 people at that restaurant. So, but it's been a really quiet day here overall. I've mostly seen media in this area. There hasn't really been a big law enforcement presence, and there still isn't, but more starting to roll in. And as I've been talking to residents, they say they're taking that shelter in place very seriously. So I've been asking a lot of people today, whenever you saw the news about what happened in your city, how did you feel? What was going through your mind? And a lot of people have been telling me that they just feel numb. They said they don't really know how to feel yet. They're worried about their children, so they're glad that,
Resonate. Good evening.
Tomorrow. And they're just worried about their safety. They said violence has been an issue before, but never anything like this. So as just it, people in the area are just hoping that they can catch whoever did this sooner rather than later. But so right now in Lewiston, like I said, I'm at the second scene, and this is where 8 people were killed last night. But minutes earlier, 7 people were killed at a bowling alley just about 4 miles away. The suspect started as a person of interest, but is now facing arrest warrants. So according to a Maine Information Center bulletin obtained by Fox, Card is a firearms instructor and a U.S. Army reservist. Last night, law enforcement found Card's car just before midnight in Lisbon, about 8 miles from the murder scenes. More than 300 officers are trying to track him down, and the Maine State Police have told people in Lewiston, Lisbon, and Bowden to shelter in place for now. I spoke with a woman who lived just feet from the bowling alley.
Heartbreaking. This is our friends, our family, our loved ones, our town, our city. Like, this isn't okay. I just haven't stopped since last night, been on and off, and tried working this morning to try to keep myself occupied, and so the kids aren't going to school.
The schools are closed today.
If you know anything about Card's whereabouts, you should call 911. Back to you, Lexi.
Now, Kelly, thanks so much for that update. It's interesting to hear that you're seeing more law enforcement now head your way, because we've seen a lot of activity as well at the residence. It almost looks like they may have been leaving. So we had been kind of unsure if the suspect was potentially inside of the home or if he wasn't. There's a lot of questions, as you know, surrounding this. Again, for viewers who are just joining us, because I know we have people that are tuning in here every new couple of minutes, walk us through again where you're at and kind of describe the scene right now, especially in the last few minutes.
Yeah, so it's cleared out as far as media goes, but like I said, a lot of law enforcement has started to pull up, and several cop cars have parked down by this restaurant. The name of the restaurant is Shemangi's, and this is where...
Oh, not Schmeckies.
Where the...
Sorry, I fucked it up earlier.
Where a gunman was last night, and 8
Shemangi's
were killed. And like I said, minutes before last night, just 4 miles down the road, it was estimated to be about a 9-minute drive. 7 people were killed. And unfortunately, it doesn't end there either. 3 people died while they were being transported to the hospital, and more than a dozen have been wounded. So it's been a really dark day here in Maine. That's what people keep saying. So they're just hoping, like I said, you know, whoever did this, they're hoping they are caught soon.
Certainly a very sad, grieving community today, not only in Maine, but really elsewhere as well. The whole country watching this horrible incident unfold and the manhunt continue. Fox's Kaylee Schuyler there reporting live from Lewiston. Kaylee, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, and let's give you another look here again at some of these feeds that we're getting in now in Bowden, Maine, where the suspect's home is. A couple of these kind of grainy images. You heard Kaylee talk about they're seeing more activity now moving towards Lewiston. We're seeing kind of less activity at the house. So wondering what may have happened here as law enforcement prepared to execute a couple of search warrants at the suspect's home. But right now it's pretty clear that they have not been able to locate Robert Card. He is still on the run, still a lot of concern about where this very dangerous individual could be. And we're all kind of watching along here as these developments continue. And it could be a very long evening ahead, as we know. And we're hoping that we can bring our viewers, you guys, some answers as we watch law enforcement go through this too. Unclear if we're going to be getting another update at any point here from law enforcement yet. Certainly if there's any significant developments in the next few hours, I'm sure we will. But right now, it's a lot of the same. There's a lot of law enforcement out, spanning throughout that area of where the suspect's home is to where the shootings occurred.
They appear to be packing it up.
We're going to continue to leave this up for you as we watch along. Live now is Andrew Kraft coming up here to take you through more of this coverage in just a couple of minutes. Hope you stick with us as we continue to bring you all of this news as it's breaking and live.
Flip back to... Oof, this one's gonna be hard to watch. As if everything that we've done thus far hasn't been hard to watch. Long Beach on the West Coast. I feel this is deja vu. We had one on the East Coast just a couple of weeks ago where I played the video of a woman got raped on camera in Florida. Apparently, we also have a camera picking up a sexual assault in Long Beach. Not to mention the need for health care in this country. People can get the mental health treatment that they need. Right in front of some other dude. That's wild. Apparently, a Jesus statue in Boston was also sexually assaulted. This is probably a bad segue.
Vandalism was not the only crime committed here outside the cathedral. Police say a woman was assaulted, and she describes for us those frightening moments.
Fuck!
Trying to get safe. That's my thoughts. Get me and my son safe. Tashana Watson was with her 11-year-old near the Cathedral of the Holy Cross last night when she saw a man following another woman nearby, then turned towards Watson.
Then he decided to come towards me. I guess I pushed him like 4 times to get him away, and then he grabbed my hair and my hat and threw it. Then he tried to have a conversation, something to the effect of just shoot me.
Then police say the man was seen swinging from the crucifix outside the church.
That's pretty cool.
150-year-old statue. Eventually, bystanders held the suspect down until police arrived.
Climbing, hanging, swinging.
38-year-old Michael Patvelt of Attleboro is now facing several charges. During today's arraignment, the judge questioning his mental health.
Counsel, is this an issue of a depraved heart or a very sick mind? If we're dealing with a mental illness, let's get to the bottom of that ASAP.
The defense says Patvelt became homeless after living with his grandmother, who recently passed away.
But all I can say is that he's looking forward to defending these charges. He is remorseful of what occurred and the fact that he's found himself in this position.
Meanwhile, crews repaired the concrete crucifix, its placement outside the cathedral, thanks to donations from Paul Dealey's family.
There was a time when churches were respected in our community, and this...
Oh, fuck your church.
Unfortunately, that's no longer the case.
Now, many in this community are relieved.
Plenty of money to repair the Jesus statue. No money to house the homeless. Tend to the mental health of people with issues. Feed the hungry. Huh. You know, if only there were a book. If only there were a book that said to do the things like feed the hungry, take care of the homeless. If only there was a dude that you could look to that told you how to treat foreigners in your country. That told you how to take care of the needy. If only there and if millions of people followed him, perhaps the world would be a better place. I don't know who that dude is, though. I don't know what book could that possibly be. Yeah, Jesus! I can't remember the dude's name. Right on the tip of my tongue. Like the answer is staring right at me right now. Yeah, he sounds like a commie.
If they know he's not in the home, why would they be shouting that to go execute this search warrant? Help us explain that. I think that's somewhat confusing for viewers. If they're shouting all of this language out there, with the assumption he's in the home, even though they may know he's not. Why?
Well, because I don't know if they know whether the home is occupied or not. So let's assume that they believe he may be there, but aren't sure. Even if it's an empty residence, you would probably want to call him out because you know he's armed with a rifle. You know he's got a fair amount of training, and there's a serious risk of injury or worse to the entering officers. I'm sure they're very well prepared. They have armor. They have weapons of their own. They probably have ballistic shields rated against rifles. Still in all, there's a tremendous risk to the law enforcement personnel. So if they think there's a possibility he's in the residence, then they'll try to call him out. There may be some indication. They may have seen movement. They may have seen lights. They may have used audio amplifying devices, to determine there is someone in the house. So, your guess is as good as mine right now.
Yeah, so we know they are executing search warrants at properties somewhat connected and affiliated to Robert Card. There's also some reporting to suggest that if he's not in the home, he may have fled into the surrounding nearby wilderness. You and I last spoke a couple months back when Pennsylvania state authorities were trying to search for that escaped inmate, Danilo Cavalcante. They finally found him because they were using flights in the air with heat signature radar to scope him out in the very, very thick underbrush below. That seems to be a tactic and a method that's being used in this search as well. Very similar, David. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, I remember that very well, and that's how they finally.
Oh, I do too.
Grabbed the guy because he moved outside of cover. They got a good signature on the flare, but there are ways.
That's the dude that walked up the wall of the prison.
This individual has military training, and believe me, snipers, for example, and individuals who are trained in any sort of close quarter battle with the military understand how the enemy can use infrared against them and how to defeat that. So I don't want to explain to people how you defeat the signature, but it is.
Venus, there's two things. Like, we don't have all the information that they have, but also cops are really dumb.
So I mean, it's a great technique. We used to train with it when I was an agent in New York, just for these type of things, and it really is pretty spectacular. But it can be defeated.
Yeah, I want to talk about his background here. I want to put up this tweet from our own Fox's Liz Frieden. She's a producer at the Pentagon for Jennifer Griffin. She says this: new info on suspected shooter Robert Card. This is from an Army spokesperson. Quote, the Army did not train Card as a firearms instructor, nor did he serve in that capacity for the Army. Due to the Privacy Act and the ongoing investigation, we cannot provide further details. So, David, there was some reporting to suggest he was some type of...
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all. He watched Alex Jones.
...expert, that he knew his way around firearms, so much so that he may have done that privately, but not in a capacity when he was in the Army. We're being told there's reporting to suggest that he was some type of refueling specialist there.
He was probably a prepper.
Of course, there's a base in Maine as well, Saco, the base there, that reporting suggests he threatened in the run-up to this horrible rampage here. So that's the extent of some of his Army background. But nonetheless, I mean, he could have a very elaborate firearms background, training, and history.
He could.
Well, I mean, look, he's been in the military, so he certainly knows his way around a rifle. The Army has said he was not a military firearms instructor, but that doesn't mean he wasn't a private instructor. So that could be he had an NRA certification. It could be that he was certified in the state of Maine to provide small arms training. So, let's assume he knows enough that he's not just a complete layperson, that he's fairly well trained, at least with the rifle that he's using. That's number one. I think the most important element to look at here, however, is the fact that this entire incident screamed for intervention that was not undertaken. We know he's had a history of mental issues. We know he had time in a mental hospital. We know he made threats. You would think, I mean, this is not anything surprising to people listening to the show right now, that if someone is showing signs of mental instability and has made threats and is talking about hearing voices, the last thing you want them to be able to do is get their hands on a weapon. You need to.
Well, this is the United States.
We've gone through this, and you and I have talked about this before. There needs to be a mechanism by which, certainly, if someone's been judged by a medical professional to have a mental impairment, we need to be able to get a warrant to go to that person's residence.
Well, that's common sense.
There needs to be some mechanism by which when they try to purchase a firearm, at least legally.
I'm disgusted. This dude throwing out fucking common sense Republicans would fucking balk at. Jesus. Do some politics for a little bit. We'll check back in on the manhunt in Maine. As I said, picked a wild night to not do a stream last night. There wasn't anything going on yesterday. Not like Donald Trump was fined $10,000 after testified in court yesterday. A judge on Thursday reaffirmed Donald Trump's $10,000 fine for an out-of-court comment during his New York civil business fraud trial, a penalty the former president's lawyers argued was unfair and unconstitutional. Judge Arthur Engoron, I always fuck his name up, I'm sorry, fined Trump on Wednesday, ruling that his remarks to TV cameras outside the courtroom violated a limited gag order, which bars participants in the trial from commenting publicly about the judge's staff. Outside of the court on Wednesday, the 2024 Republican presidential frontrunner, by a fucking lot, complained that Engoron, a Democrat, is a very partisan judge with a person who's very partisan sitting alongside him, perhaps even much more partisan than he is. Those words came after one of Trump's lawyers had groused earlier that morning about the judge's principal law clerk, the same woman Trump disparaged weeks earlier in a social media post that prompted the gag order. Summoned on Wednesday to the witness stand to explain whom he meant when he mentioned the person alongside the judge, Trump said he was actually talking not about the clerk, Allison Greenfield, but former Trump lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen, who was testifying at the time. On Wednesday, Engoron called Trump's contention not credible, noting that the clerk is closer to him than is the witness stand. Trump's lawyers insisted anew on Thursday that Trump was talking about Cohen. Lawyer Christopher Cries pointed out that right after Trump's reference to the person sitting alongside the judge, the former president said, "We are doing very well. The facts are speaking very loud. He is a totally discredited witness," a reference to Cohen. Trump, you are a totally discredited witness. Cries argued that it meant the person alongside the judge was also Cohen, and he asked Engoron to rethink the fine. Cries also argued that if the judge maintained that the remark was indeed about the clerk, the fine would infringe on Trump's First Amendment rights. His business is being attacked, and he's entitled to comment fairly on what he perceives in open court, Cries said. Engoron was cool to the constitutional argument. "I don't think it's impinging on anybody's First Amendment rights to protect my staff." But he agreed to examine the full remarks and reconsider the fine. Engoron subsequently decided to stand by the penalty, citing a brief but clear transition between the mention of the person alongside the judge and the comment about the discredited witness. "That was, to me, a clear transition from one person to another, and I think the person originally referred to was my clerk." Ice later suggested that Trump would appeal the fine. He asked for and received Engoron's permission to have a photograph taken of the judge's bench for the record to show the proximity of the judge's seat, his law clerk's perch, and the witness stand. Perhaps lawyers should just tell Trump to shut the fuck up. His initial thought was to have the photograph taken while the bench was empty, but Engoron offered that it would be better to have people in the picture for scale. "Mr. Cries, you're about Michael Cohen's size. Why don't you sit there?" The lawyer demurred, quipping, "I'm not nearly as photogenic." Trump wasn't in court on Thursday, having flown to Florida after attending Tuesday and Wednesday. He was previously in court for the trial's first 3 days and returned for the 2 days last week. The trial involves a lawsuit that New York Attorney General Letitia James filed last year against Trump, his company, and top executives. The Democratic Attorney General said Trump and his business chronically lied about his wealth on financial statements given to banks, insurers, and others. Trump denies any wrongdoing. That's not the only trouble that Trump got in for his comments to reporters outside of that very courtroom yesterday. Trump accused a witness of threats. Trump accused of witness threats. There we go. Not Trump accused a witness of threats. Trump accused of witness threats after Meadows reportedly granted immunity. The special counsel, Jack Smith, says ex-president was trying to send threatening message to a foreseeable witness in election interference case. Special counsel Jack Smith accused Donald Trump of trying to send an unmistakable and threatening message to a foreseeable witness in the federal election interference case against him after it was reported that Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, had been granted immunity. Now, Meadows' lawyer disputes that the report that we heard from ABC News was accurate, was completely accurate. Claim from Smith came in a court filing late on Wednesday seeking a limited gag order. The judge in the case, Tanya Chutkan, issued such an order last week, but suspended it when lawyers for Trump appealed. Trump faces 4 federal charges related to his attempt to overturn his defeat by Joe Biden in 2020. He also faces 13 state charges related to election subversion in Georgia, 34 charges in New York related to hush money payments, 40 federal charges concerning his retention of classified information after leaving office, and civil threats including New York cases concerning his business affairs. Denying all accusations of wrongdoing, Trump enjoys huge leads in national and key state polling regarding the next Republican presidential nomination. ABC News reported that Meadows' immunity grant on Tuesday. As The Guardian previously reported, Meadows appeared in March before the grand jury in the case after being forced to testify under court order. Such immunity orders typically see witnesses provide only limited statements, which the Justice Department promises not to use against them. A Trump spokesperson said wrongful, unethical leaks throughout these Biden witch hunts.
Come on, man.
Only underscores how detrimental these empty cases are to our democracy and system of justice, and how vital it is for President Trump's First Amendment rights to not be infringed upon by unconstitutional gag orders. But Trump himself used Truth Social, the platform he set up after being thrown off Twitter for inciting the January 6th attack on Congress, to address the Meadows story. I don't think Mark Meadows would lie about the rigged and stolen 2020 presidential election merely for getting immunity against persecution by deranged prosecutor Jack Smith. But when you really think about it, after being hounded like a dog for 3 years, told you'd be going to jail for the rest of your life, your money and your family will be gone forever gone, and we're not at all interested in exposing those that did the rigging. If you say bad things about the terrible monster Donald J. Trump, we won't put you in prison. You can keep your family and your wealth, and perhaps if you can make up some really horrible stuff about him, apparently left off the B, about him, we may very well erect a statue of you in the middle of our decaying and now very violent capital, Washington, D.C. What stuff, you say?
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside of me.
That drop may need a content warning in and of itself. Oh, God. So Congress elected a Speaker of the House yesterday. That's what we were doing yesterday afternoon. Why I didn't do a stream last night. Finally getting back to work. One of the things on the table is apparently expelling habitual liar Representative George Santos.
Congressman George Santos is expected in federal court tomorrow on the latest charges that he stole from donors and lied on election filings. But CBS 2's Carolyn Gussoff reports he may soon be facing an expulsion vote in Congress.
He's not really who he says he is.
I think he should be expelled. I think there's enough evidence.
It's incomprehensible that he would still be in there.
Constituents we spoke to answered decisively. George Santos has got to go. This expulsion resolution, introduced weeks ago, stalled in the House Speaker gridlock, could advance to the House next week at the request
Richard, good evening.
Anthony D'Esposito.
And I am fully aware that people should be given due process. Have a very good understanding from constituents back in Nassau County and across Long Island that they don't believe that George Santos can be conducting the people's work while dealing with all of these issues.
These issues, 23 charges against him. Prosecutors allege he stole from his own donors by using their credit cards for personal purchases and unauthorized donations, and greatly inflated his fundraising numbers to win backing. Santos today called for due process and the effort to expel him by New York's freshman members of his own party political games. An expulsion of myself as a member of Congress before being found guilty from a criminal investigation will set a dangerous precedent, adding it will erase the voices of the electorate. But many of those voices have called for expulsion for months and are now asking backers of the resolution.
Where did the baby come from?
As a group.
Let the leadership know that they will stop voting in lockstep with the Republican leadership until this is taken care of.
Expulsion requires a 2/3 vote by the House. Expulsions from Congress have been very rare.
I don't know. I kind of like George Santos. We've watched enough interviews of him now to where he's won me over. I hate Bob Menendez. He definitely needs to go. I kind of want to keep George Santos around. And if you've seen him in drag, he's kind of a hot drag queen.
In our whole entire history, only 20 members have ever been expelled, and 17 of those was for supporting the Confederacy. In modern times, the 20th and 21st century, only 2 have ever been expelled, and those were post-conviction.
Meanwhile, prosecutors have advised the judge of 2 potential conflicts of interest involving Santos's attorney. If Santos on Friday opts for a new attorney, constituents who want him out fear that could further delay his due process. In Great Neck, Long Island, Carolyn Gussoff.
That's what I was referencing, the Saturday Night Live skit. Bowen Yang as Santos was fantastic. I like Bowen Yang an awful lot. He might be one of my favorite of the newest cast. He's not like new. He's been there like 3 years now. Also really like the non-binary cast member, Melissa something. They are amazing. I felt sorry. They have one new cast member this year, and her first line was something about like, does it make your vagina smell good or something? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's her first line ever on Saturday Night Live. Poor woman works her entire life as a comedian to make it to Saturday Night Live, and it was like, hold on, let me find. I sent it to Sparkles because it cracked me up. Let me see if I can find it here. Then again, it could have been like 2 weeks ago, so it'd be hard for me to scroll that far back because Sparkles sends me a lot of bullshit. And like daily, it's bitching about Jada and Will. I'm well aware you hate Jada and Will. And she misgendered a bear. Oh, yes. The new girl's first line, I have to know, is glamgina hard to wash off. That was her first line on Saturday Night Live. I have to know is that was the only line she had. I have to know is glamgina hard to wash off. Felt sorry for her. I was very much looking forward to Pete Davidson hosting. Unfortunately, the show sucked. Like, the only good skit was the Barbie song with Pete Davidson. Like, I'm Just Pete or whatever it was called. That was fucking hilarious. And I don't think I like Ice Spice. I hadn't really heard anything by her until the Saturday Night Live performance. I don't think I liked either of those songs. I'd heard her on like the Taylor Swift song. Speaking of somebody who is lampooned on Saturday Night Live constantly, Marjorie Taylor Greene getting back to doing the people's business, wanting to censure a congresswoman from a complete other state.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A1 of Rule 9, I seek recognition to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows. A resolution censuring Representative Rashida Tlaib for anti-Semitic activity.
Okay, Venus. I didn't even know who Bad Bunny was like 2 or 3 years ago. And now I've watched the motherfucker wrestle numerous times. He's a WWE wrestler. And now I watched him on Saturday Night Live. And they just pulled Mick Jagger out of nowhere. Yes, he's a wrestler. And my God, like, they did a show in Puerto Rico earlier this year, and that was one of the absolute biggest pops like anybody has ever gotten in the wrestling business. The roof blew off of the place when Bad Bunny came out, and he didn't do a bad job either. And I really like the song he came out to, that Chumbea, I think is the name of it. Like, I've wore that song out. Like, this is really good. Yeah, Bad Bunny is a wrestler. There's even rumors that he might be the one to end Roman Reigns', like, Roman Reigns is currently the fucking, like, 3-year, 4-year world champion. The longest reign in 30, 40 years now. There's rumors that they're going to put it on Bad Bunny or Logan Paul. Yeah, Logan Paul is a wrestler. I didn't think Bad Bunny did a bad job. I really liked his opening monologue. The, like, goofing on the subtitles, and Pedro Pascal came out. It was pretty good. I give Bad Bunny props. Like, I like the dude.
Speaker,
I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I seek recognition to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows. A resolution censuring Representative Rashida Tlaib for anti-Semitic activity, sympathizing with terrorist organizations, and leading an insurrection at the United States Capitol complex. Whereas in May 2019, Rashida Tlaib said that she celebrated the Holocaust and felt a calming feeling when thinking about the genocide of millions of Jews.
Never happened.
Whereas in 2020, Rashida Tlaib retweeted an illustration with the caption, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." And this Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO slogan, has been adopted by Hamas and calls for the elimination of Israel and death to all Jews. Whereas in September 2022, Rashida Tlaib, as a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, displayed her disdain for Israel, saying, "You cannot claim to hold progressive values, yet back Israel's apartheid government." Whereas instead of denouncing the horrors of Hamas, slaughtering Israelis, and demanding the release of all hostages.
Oh, she didn't condemn?
Hostages held by Hamas, Rashida Tlaib stated on October 8, 2023, the path to the future must include lifting the blockade, ending the occupation, and dismantling the apartheid system that creates the suffocating, dehumanizing conditions that can lead to resistance.
He is correct.
Whereas Rashida Tlaib exhibited her hatred for America by reposting a message on October 12, 2023, blaming America for allowing the deaths of Palestinian babies at the hands of Israel.
Over 2,300 children have been killed. And that was the number when we did the show on Tuesday. Who fucking knows? It's probably topped 3,000 now. Children, Marge, children.
Whereas Rashida Tlaib led an insurrection at the United States Capitol complex on October 18, 2023, which put members of Congress, their staffs, and Capitol visitors in danger by shutting down elevators, stairwells, and points of egress while obstructing official business in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, including a Senate Foreign Affairs Committee hearing. Whereas the insurrection led by Rashida
Once again, there was no business going on in the House. They didn't have a speaker at the time.
Rashida Tlaib was organized by Jewish Voice for Peace, which the Anti-Defamation League calls a radical anti-Israel activist group that advocates for a complete economic, cultural, and academic boycott of the state of Israel, and that believes Israeli policies and actions are motivated by deeply...
we were almost at 6,000 Palestinians. Apparently we're over 7,000 Palestinians now. And almost half of that is children have been killed by Israelis. Innocent children. Half the population of Gaza is homeless now. Israel is committing a literal genocide against the Palestinian people. We are watching it in real time.
Rooted Jewish racial chauvinism and religious supremacism. Whereas members of the Southern Poverty Law Center, a far-left nonprofit organization, were present at the insurrection at the Capitol on October 18, 2023. Whereas several insurrectionists at the Capitol belong to a group messaging chat called Global Intifada, which is the Arabic word for rebellion or uprising, and refers to a series of protests and violent riots carried out by Palestinians in Israel during the last century. Whereas by leading an anti-American and anti-Semitic insurrection on October 18, 2023, Rashida Tlaib followed Hezbollah's orders to carry out a day of unprecedented anger following an explosion at a Gazan hospital, lying about Israel's responsibility for the attack.
Israel claimed responsibility for it and have now been caught lying. They have been caught lying. They said that the rocket that they pointed to and said it was a Palestinian rocket, not a Palestinian rocket, also had nothing to do with that hospital. But we know that they are lying about it. We know that the call that they played that was supposedly between the Hamas fighters planning that attack was completely fabricated. So I smell bullshit. We don't know whose munition actually bombed the hospital, but it seems awfully likely that it was indeed Israel. And not to mention that they had told the hospital to evacuate days before.
Which United States intelligence agencies said was not perpetrated by Israel. And whereas members of Congress who denounce the United States while praising terrorist organizations are unfit to hold office, now therefore be it resolved that Representative Rashida Tlaib be censured. Representative Rashida Tlaib forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and Representative Rashida Tlaib be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker.
I love the Southern Poverty Law Center. I give money to them myself. They provide legal representation to poor people, especially in the South. They have to have bulletproof and bomb-proof windows because of all the attacks on their organization. There are plenty of attacks in right-wing media against them that are just appalling. But at least for once, the Democrats didn't just let Representative Tlaib fucking take fire from Marjorie Taylor Greene. They actually fought back.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Vermont seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, is this on?
This is me?
Pursuant to Clause 2A1 of Rule 9, I rise to give notice of my intention to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows. House Resolution 610. Censuring Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Whereas Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly fanned the flames of racism, anti-Semitism, hate speech against the LGBTQ community, Islamophobia, Asian hate, xenophobia, and other forms of hatred. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly debased the memories of thousands of victims of the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, by perpetuating conspiracy theories to shift blame and responsibility for mass murder. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly assaulted the foundation of our democracy by perpetuating conspiracy theories related to the January 6th attack on the Capitol, which sought to halt the peaceful transfer of power. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly called for violence against elected officials and their families. Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly espoused anti-Semitic rhetoric and conspiracy theories, including through inflammatory evocations of the Holocaust. Whereas on May 20th, 2021, Marjorie Taylor Greene said that the mask mandate in the House of Representatives was akin to Jews being put in trains and taken to gas chambers in Nazi Germany. Whereas on May 25th,
Marjorie Taylor Greene needs a titty slap.
A titty slap!
Come on now.
Then again, apparently she's kinky. She might like it.
2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted, quote, vaccinated employees get a vaccination logo just like the Nazis forced Jewish people to wear a gold star. Whereas on February 26th, 2022, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene appeared at a white nationalist event that was condemned by the Republican Jewish coalition as, quote, appalling and outrageous that a member of Congress would share a platform with an individual who has actively spread anti-Semitic bile, mocked the Holocaust, and promoted dangerous anti-Israel.
Old Nick Fuentes.
Whereas on September 1st, 2022, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posted a tweet comparing President Joe Biden to Adolf Hitler that said, quote, Joe Biden is Hitler, hashtag Nazi Joe has to go, unquote. Whereas on September 1st, 2022, Marjorie Taylor Greene posted another tweet of a doctored video showing President Biden speaking with audio of Hitler, swastikas in the background, and a mustache akin to that of Hitler.
This is like a 12-minute clip, yes.
Whereas on July 21st, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said that if she was, quote, in charge, she would kick out every single Chinese in this country that is loyal to the CCP. They would be gone. Whereas on December 19th, 2021, while at a Turning Point USA conference, Representative Marjorie Taylor
we're just in 2021.
Americans as, quote, yellow people, a slur that has been historically used to malign the Asian American community in the United States. Whereas Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has a history of perpetuating LGBTQ hate speech, including through her use of offensive posters in the halls of congressional office buildings beginning on February 24th, 2021. Whereas on November 22nd, 2022, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted that an LGBTQ California state senator was, quote, a communist groomer, unquote, an offensive slur that has been used to stoke fear and incite hatred of LGBTQ Americans. Whereas on March 7th, 2023, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene again referred to members of the LGBTQ community as, quote, groomers and spouted anti-trans rhetoric on the floor of the House of Representatives. Whereas on June 1st, 2023, the first day of Pride Month, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted a photo showing an anti-trans poster that she had displayed in the hall outside of her congressional office. Whereas on February 22nd, 2019, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posted a video on Facebook claiming that the Muslim American members of Congress were not, quote, really official because they didn't take the oath of office on the Bible. Whereas on June 2nd, 2020, Politico reported that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene repeatedly engaged.
This is Representative Becca Ballant, or Ballant. She is a congresswoman from Vermont. Representative Becca Ballant. That's probably how it was. B-A-L-I-N-T. Representative Becca Ballant.
In Islamophobic rhetoric and suggested that Muslim Americans do not belong in the United States government. Whereas on May 10th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene yet again referred to fellow Muslim American members of Congress as, quote, the Jihad Squad. Whereas on June 17th, 2020, Politico reported that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene referred to Black Americans as, quote, slaves to the Democratic Party and said that they should be proud to see Confederate monuments. Whereas on June 17th, 2020, Politico further reported that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene stated in a video, quote, I know a ton of white people that are as lazy and sorry and probably worse than black people, unquote. Whereas on May 18th, 2023, Marjorie Taylor Greene compared being called a white supremacist to a person of color being called the N-word, a vile racial slur. Whereas on January 28th, 2021, a video of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene resurfaced in which she used a harmful and offensive slur targeting Americans with disabilities with the National Down Syndrome Society called, quote, heartbreaking and unacceptable. Whereas on November 1st, 2018, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene denied the attacks on September 11th, saying there was, quote, a so-called plane that crashed into the Pentagon, and, quote, it's odd that there's never been any evidence to show a plane at the Pentagon. Whereas on November 17th, 2018, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene peddled a vile anti-Semitic trope when she claimed that wildfires in California were caused by
Jewish space lasers.
Members of the Jewish community. Whereas on August 17th, 2020, a video of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene resurfaced in which she stated that the mass shooting at the Country Music Festival in Las Vegas, Nevada, where 60 people were murdered, was perpetuated in order to pass anti-gun legislation. Whereas on January 19th, 2021, Media Matters published a screenshot of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene on Facebook, where she emphatically agreed that the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneham Douglas High School, where 17 American students and teachers were murdered, was a false flag event.
Where she has harassed David Hogg repeatedly.
2021, Media Matters published a screenshot of on Facebook, a comment that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posted that claimed 9/11 was, quote, done by our own government, to which she responded, that is all true. Whereas that same comment, liked and agreed to by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, further claimed that the mass shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary, where 26 people, including 20 precious children, were murdered, was staged. Whereas on September 3rd, 2020, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posted an image of herself holding a gun next to images of 3 members of Congress with a caption encouraging, quote, going on offense after them. Whereas on January 26, 2021, CNN reported on posts, comments, and likes by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from 2018 and 2019, in which Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene liked several posts and comments on Facebook demonstrating her support for the execution of several members of the Democratic Party, including the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and President Barack Obama. Whereas on January 26, 2021, CNN further reported that Marjorie Taylor Greene liked a Facebook comment on January 2019 that stated, quote, "A bullet to the head would be quicker," in reference to the removal of Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Whereas on January 26, 2021, CNN also reported that deleted videos showed Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for the execution of Speaker Nancy Pelosi and stating that she was, quote, "a traitor to our country, that she's guilty of treason and should suffer death, or she'll be in."
I wasn't going to play the whole thing, but you guys seem to be liking it, so.
Green has perpetuated the big lie related to the 2020 presidential
We'll let her continue.
espousing conspiracy theories and by threatening and inciting violence. Whereas on October 26, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene downplayed the actions of those who participated in the January 6 attack on the Capitol and said, quote, "If you think about what our Declaration of Independence says, it says to overthrow tyrants." Whereas on November 4th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene went to visit those incarcerated related to the January 6th attack on the Capitol, in which she referred to them as, quote, "the Patriot wing of the D.C. jail." Whereas on November 10th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene referred to those who participated in the January 6th attack on the Capitol as, quote, "political prisoners of war." Whereas on December 10th, 2021, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said that if she had organized the January 6th attack on the Capitol, quote, "we would have won, not to mention we would have been armed." Whereas on July 19th, 2023, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene displayed graphic pornographic images during an official committee hearing
of Hunter's dick.
Depicted a member of President Biden's family. Whereas on July 19th, 2023, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene sent an official press release and posted to her official congressional website a public hearing commentary featuring graphic pornographic images she claimed depicted a member of President Biden's family.
Like that schlong.
Members of Congress have promised to always have the back of Marjorie Taylor Greene, no matter the extent of her vile and hateful behavior. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene be censured. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker.
Under Rule 9, a resolution offered from the floor by a member other than the majority leader or the minority leader as a question of the privileges of the House has immediate precedence only at a time designated by the chair within 2 legislative days after the resolution is properly noticed. Pending that designation, the form of the resolution noticed by the gentlewoman from Vermont will appear in the record at this point. The chair.
Oh, good. Once again, that is Representative Becca Ballant of Vermont. Thank God that the Democrats didn't just lay down and take it and let Rashida Tlaib receive fire, harassment from another member of Congress yet again. Meanwhile, good news coming out of Detroit. After 40 days of being on strike, a tentative agreement was reached on Wednesday night between the UAW and Ford. They're hoping that this will make headway with the other two, Stellantis and GM.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You could say the ticket to end the picket has been punched.
The ticket to end the picket.
Depending On what Stellantis and GM do next. If you can hear behind me and really see behind me, the strike stations, the several gates right outside Ford, Michigan Assembly, they're empty. Workers were told to go home. They're certainly celebrating, so you could call it a celebratory quiet here at Ford, Michigan Assembly, right outside UAW Local 900. Let's go to some video right now from earlier. Now, this video is essentially the last video of strike activity you will likely ever see here, at least this time around at Ford, Michigan Assembly in Wayne. This was hours before workers got the news of a tentative agreement between Ford and the UAW, and it's a 25% increase over the lifetime of this tentative agreement. With cost of living adjustment, that's about 30% of an increase there. It's been...
So they were asking for 32%, I believe, right? So they've agreed on 30%. Fuck yeah. They're hoping that Stellantis and GM are going to give them a similar deal within the next couple of days. So hopefully this is going to bring the strike to the end and the workers have fucking won.
Been 6 weeks. The union pushing for double-digit wage increases, job security, and an end to tears. And tonight, the UAW went online, posted a video, the union saying they have a tentative agreement with Ford, and workers are thrilled.
Sorry, it's emotional time for me. You know, I'm emotional, but just super excited that this is over with, and just can't wait to get back to work and just get on with my life, man. This is my first strike, but I put in a lot of time and effort with Ford, so I'm just really excited that it's going to work out for everybody. So hopefully GM and Stellantis can get their deals done, and then that's, I don't know really what else to say. Just historic day for us, that's for sure.
Mack truck.
Honestly, you know what I'm saying? Feeling like a new man, new money.
New man,
new money.
What did they tell you in there?
They told us that be ready for a better life, honestly, and just to be grateful for what we got. You know what I'm saying?
Meantime, we have a graphic here of the White House reacting to the Ford UAW tentative agreement. President Joe Biden, who picketed during the strike. That was a historic first time a president has joined in on a strike on the picket line. Joe Biden said, "I applaud the UAW and Ford for coming together after a hard-fought, good-faith negotiation and reaching a historic tentative agreement tonight. This tentative agreement provides a record raise to auto workers who have sacrificed so much to ensure our iconic Big Three companies can still lead the world in quality and innovation." And I've got the old whiteboard out here as we come back live to go over those numbers once again. A 25% increase for the life of this tentative agreement. Remember, the Ford workers represented by UAW, they have to vote on this for it to officially pass. So we'll learn more about that in the coming days. Now with the COLA, not the drink, but the cost of living adjustments, that's what COLA stands for, of course, the union says it's more like a 30% increase, and that takes the top pay to about $40 an hour. So a big win for the union on many issues. There are still other things in this deal that we have to find out about, but certainly workers leaving here, going home, and celebrating. Stellantis and GM, they did release statements tonight. They were short. They simply said they continue to work constructively with the union to get their own tentative agreements. Once that happens, the strike would effectively be over. A historic strike. First time all three Detroit 3 members, automakers, have been demonstrated against by the UAW. Reporting live outside Ford, Michigan Assembly in Wayne, Dave Kinchin, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, Dave, you know, you look at the supply chain and
apparently the SAG-AFTRA was supposed to come back to the table this week, but I've not heard any details. The Association of Motion Pictures or whatever walked away like, because SAG-AFTRA was very optimistic following the end of the Writers Guild strike, and they thought that the Academy of Motion Pictures, whatever the fucking acronym is, was going to come and give them a similar agreement, but they just got up from the table, walked off, and talks had stalled since, but they were supposed to sit back down at the table sometime this week. I'm not sure exactly if that has happened.
in dealerships, the longer GM and Stellantis go with this strike, the fewer cars they make. Meantime, Ford, if this is ratified, well, they get back to work. That gives them an edge over their domestic counterparts if the other two don't come to a deal soon.
So yeah, they did meet today. Today was their first meeting since the AMPTP. That's the acronym. The AMPTP walked away last week. They did sit down for talks today.
Yeah, that's true. And, about $10 billion has been lost here as this whole strike took place. That's across the industry and really affecting outside businesses, the pizza shop, the restaurants, everybody that depends on that money coming in from workers. And not just with the big three, but suppliers, the tier 1, the tier 2 suppliers like you're talking about. We talked with the head of the Detroit Regional Chamber today. He said, even once this whole thing starts back up, once the strike does end, remember, we need tentative agreements in place with GM and Stellantis. Workers have to vote on all of that. The Ford workers have to vote to pass the deal with Ford. But once all that happens and everything does start back up, the Detroit Regional Chamber said it's still going to be very costly, probably just as costly, just to get everything started back up because of all of those losses. Some of the smaller supply chain companies, suppliers have run out of cash, or they've run dangerously low on cash throughout all of this. We saw the big three members saying we're not locking anybody out, but they've had to lay off people. Why? Sure. Well, when workers here at Ford Michigan Assembly, for example, when they went on strike, well, that means there's no one really making the parts that have to be painted. So painters were laid off because there wasn't any work coming in for them to do. So you really got to see how interconnected this industry is. And at the same time, the big three has said we got to put billions of dollars away into electrification. These are long-term 10-year investments to make sure that they can make that transition to EVs too. So still a lot to be worked out.
Yeah, that's one of the things, like the SAG-AFTRA is negotiating about rights regarding AI. The UAW is also negotiating rights about electric vehicles. Let's check back in with the manhunt in Maine.
At that bar in Lewiston just last night, taken so senselessly, and we have to keep you up to speed, up to date on all the developments in this story going forward. But we did want to devote the 6 o'clock hour here on the West Coast, the 9 o'clock hour there on the East Coast, to this story, the Maine massacre. We'll see everyone in 2 minutes. When we come back, though, we'll be talking to some of our friends and experts as well. And
they were actually playing
that, of course, is the Israel-Hamas war development.
The audio here a moment ago. We just missed it.
In the Army. Now, the Army came out in a statement today refuting that, saying he did not have that capacity when he was in the Army. Yes, he might have done that in a private capacity, but not while he was enlisted in the Army. Liz Frieden also goes on to say that the Army did not train Specialist Card as a firearms instructor, nor did he serve in that capacity for the Army. Due to the Privacy Act and the ongoing investigation, we cannot provide further details. So, Robert Card remains on the lam, on the run. He is being sought by hundreds of law enforcement officers at the moment. But remember, the biggest kind of activity, commotion that we have had since all of this was just a mere hours ago. Remember, we've had live pictures outside of that residence there in Bowdoin, Maine. This was, according to law enforcement, Robert Card's last known residence, last known address. And so there was so much law enforcement activity outside, and they were executing a search warrant on one of these properties, and they were shouting commands if Robert Card was inside. Remember, we had no confirmation or indication that Robert Card was actually inside that one residence, but we just made this for you just to let you listen in and see what the commands were that were being shouted in the event, in the likelihood Robert Card was actually inside that residence there in Bowdoin. Have a listen to this.
Robert Card, this is the Maine Police. We know you're inside. You need to come out now and present your hands in the air, walking in front of the truck in the driveway. We don't want to see anyone else get hurt.
Okay, so we put that together very, very quick there, but you could see and get a sense of what law enforcement was saying through a megaphone outside this residence there in Bowdoin. But remember, Janet Mills, the governor there in that press conference this morning.
So that was as we were coming on. That's what was going on as the stream started earlier today. Apparently, he was not in the residence. We saw a movement, and then they appeared to pack it up and leave. So the manhunt's still ongoing in Maine. I am not going to be surprised if he is found dead. That's kind of usually how these things end. As you saw, two other manhunts we covered earlier in the stream. Both suspects found dead. Kind of expect this one to end the same way, and that might be why they can't find him. He may be in the woods somewhere dead. He might be out on a boat on the water dead. That's also a possibility, Maine, up there close to the border. Especially if he knows his way around. Did you know that the right-wingers are upset about UFC now? Apparently, the idiots on the right are going to boycott the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Why, might you ask? Yeah, the UFC is woke.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
So apparently, the quartering thinks Dana White instantly regretted his decision. But I got some video that I'm going to show you after this that may dispute the quartering's narrative.
Game Bread is in the building, and these guys just flapping gums at each other any chance they get. The fight clock is running down.
I've got another great story for you that you're probably going to want to leave a like on. Now, I know that there's
really
significant burnout around the Bud Light topic. I understand.
Is there? I follow so many right-wing pages, and it's just a deluge constantly. Boycott Bud Light. Boycott Bud Light. Blah, blah, blah. Fuck, you guys are pussies. What the hell?
That people are tired of hearing about Bud Light. We know that it's losing billions of dollars in the market. We know that Bill Gates has lost tens of millions of dollars on his massive investment into the company. We know that everyone has switched off of it to other brands like Yingling or...
By the way, Elon Musk has lost billions of dollars.
So people shouldn't really do that. I mean, I understand nobody wants to see Dylon Mulvaney brand destroyers face anymore.
What?
But yesterday, Bud Light announced a $100 million desperation deal with the UFC. And people are pissed. Boycott the UFC was trending on Twitter. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's probably hard.
He's nuts.
It's hard to blame the UFC for taking their $100 million. But I get a feeling that Dana White has not read the room correctly here, which is something he's actually generally pretty good at. And we're going to get into that after a super quick word from this video sponsor.
Do you think that's true? Do you think that's true, Jeremy? Because I think Dana thinks you're a pussy.
Powerful American-built business. A lot of their core values align with mine. As far as military, I'm a big supporter of military and law enforcement. I love their thing that they do.
Folds of
honor.
Yeah,
exactly. Where they, they've spent like $44 million over the last however many years for scholarships for fallen heroes. Whether it's military or first responders, and I could go on and on for days about how much I am aligned with Anheuser-Busch. Hey, whenever there's a big natural disaster in the United States, they turn the plant into a water bottling factory, and they've done like 100 million bottles of water for people in need during natural disasters. So as we got down to it, we started to talk, and I met with the CEO of Anheuser-Busch. It was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, and so look, you know, a lot.
Oh shit, that wasn't the clip I wanted. Oh shit. Oh nuts. Because he was far more blunt about it. Guess not on the Charlie Kirk show. But that's one of the things that has boggled my mind. Is that Bud Light is very much aligned with Republican causes, gives money to Republican causes, so I fucking... Let's see if this is the clip.
People wanting to boycott.
Yeah, listen, believe me, if you think that I got into this thinking that wouldn't happen, you're out of your mind. You know, people are very opinionated about this, and it's almost like in the COVID thing, right? Through COVID, what did I say during COVID? Somebody's got to be first. You know, and there were reasons why I felt we could be first going through COVID. Knew that we would do it right, yada, yada, yada. You know the story. But when it comes to Anheuser-Busch...
Wait, didn't Fight Island, like, go down in flames?
This was... Everybody talks about, oh, you did it for money. Hey, dummies. All sponsorship deals are about money, okay? So when you talk about being a sellout, I had multiple deals in front of me. So it's not like, oh, Bud Light showed up and they were the only option I had to get money. You know how fucking stupid that is to think that, you know, this was all about, and I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again, everybody on every side of this deal that were involved, other beer companies and everything else, absolutely positively know that this was not about money for me. We were going to end up with money with no matter who we ended up with. For Anheuser-Busch, it was about values, core values for me. I'm at a point in my life and I'm at a point in my career where nothing is just about money anymore. I am very...
You rich asshole.
Fucking asshole today saying, oh, it sounds like they wrote him a script on what to say. Nobody writes me a script. Nobody tells me what to say, ever. I do things because when I come out and I say something publicly, if you look at every quote, right, that I put out, you can ask Lene, every quote is me. Every quote is me. Everything that's posted on social media is me. And everything that comes out of this mouth is me. Nobody tells me what to say and nobody tells me what to do, ever. And
somebody put the baby in the corner.
What I said about Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light yesterday are absolutely true. I am a big military law enforcement guy. They have this Folds of Honor where they've spent $44 million over the last however many.
I fucking love it. Let the right wing assholes eat the fucking right wing assholes. Once again, Bud Light supports Republican causes. So good on you, Bud, for kicking a hornet's nest. That's what you get. You voted for the leopards eating my face party. Then wonder why the leopards are eating your face. CTE writing that script. You see that Dana promoting his show Power Slap is nowhere near as fun as a titty slap.
A titty slap! Give me those titties,
Come on
huh?
now.
Give me those titties, huh? Just $500 million? I'd say it's a hell of a lot more after the merger with WWE. You know who's losing money lately? Elon Musk. Apparently lost over $1 billion in one day. But nobody shed a tear for him. Apparently he shed enough tears for himself. Elon Musk almost in tears on a Tesla earnings call. Elon Musk has been accused of acting like a little baby and being almost in tears during an earnings call in which the billionaire struck a pessimistic tone about the economy. No. We got economy numbers. What, today? We grew at 3% GDP growth is considered good. We grew at over 4.5%. Once again, unemployment still near record lows. Wages are growing. So the numbers coming out are encouraging about the economy. The problem is they've been raising interest rates, and companies like Tesla have been cruising on free money without having to worry about actually putting out a good product to make money. Tesla CEO's behavior on the third quarter earnings call was slammed as terrible by financial analyst Kevin Paffrath. And the electric automaker's stock price dropped 15% in the 2 days following it. For a leader to cry about the economy rather than funneling that and coming up with a plan is pathetic. What Mr. Paffrath said, we need to know the light is at the end of the tunnel rather than... Well, if you're in a tunnel driving a Tesla, it might just fucking stop in the middle of the road on you. Just throwing that out there. We need to know the light is at the end of the tunnel. The light at the end of the tunnel is a fucking tow truck coming to pick your Tesla up. Rather than hearing a complaining CEO who's not actually providing that path, the Tesla reported weaker than expected third quarter results with both earnings per share and revenue of $23.35 billion falling short of analyst estimates. But despite the issues, as of Friday, the company's share price was up 96% year to date. Mr. Paffrath, a YouTuber with 1.9 million followers, was not the only analyst to criticize Mr. Musk's performance. Wedbush Securities. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Wedbush. I like Weedbush better. Weedbush analyst. An analyst. If you're going to be an analyst, I got some advice for you.
Life is too short to walk this earth or a crusty asshole. Wash your ass.
Weedbush Securities analyst Dan Ives described the call as a mini disaster during which a cautious Mr. Musk downplayed expectations for the Cybertruck and focused on high interest rates. Apparently, he unloaded a Tommy gun into the side of a Cybertruck. But I don't think there's video of that, because the last time he showed video of the Cybertruck, he threw a rock at the window and it broke. The supposed bulletproof window. We dug our own grave with Cybertruck, Mr. Musk said on the call, calling it a great product, but also said he wanted to temper expectations for the long-awaited pickup truck. Demand is off the charts. We have over 1 million people who have reserved the car, so it's not a demand issue. No, it's that your fucking car sucks, dude. Just like everything you touch turns to shit. Much like Twitter. Apparently Twitter hit by a bizarre bug earlier today. The Twitter app and website break after being hit by a bizarre bug. I mean, it was hit by a bizarre bug, what, a year and a half ago? When Elon bought it? Twitter has broken after seemingly being hit by an unusual bug. Some users were unable to log in or get online at all, but those who were could see something more strange. Tweets displaying as if they were posted in 1970. And various posts refusing to load. Tracking website Down Detector saw a huge surge in reports of problems on Tuesday afternoon, UK time. Problems were seen right across the world. The unusual date is seemingly a consequence of the so-called Unix epoch, Many computers do not count time in the usual way, but instead register it as a number of seconds that have amassed since the 1st of January 1970, which is called the Unix epoch. That system is a helpful way for programmers to represent time within their code. It also means that any problems with that code can lead to confusion, since they will often make it appear as if something happened 50 years ago. Even users who could see those posts saw the tweets as empty or not showing properly, however, suggesting that the issue was more widespread than just a problem with the time. Users also reported that retweets appeared broken, showing instead as RT alongside the post they had tried to share. That was the way Twitter users reshared posts before the functionality was built into Twitter, and to this day that system is still used in the code that underpins Twitter as it appears to users. The problems come almost exactly a year. Sorry, I said a year and a half. A year after Elon Musk bought Twitter, a deal that was closed on October 27th of 2022. Well, it took him a year to fully break it. After that acquisition was completed and Mr. Musk fired the majority of Twitter staff, some predicted that the site could stop working completely. It has stayed online for much of the time since, but has been hit by a number of outages and technical issues. You hate to see it. Looks like there's no updates on the manhunt going on in Maine as of right now. I was kind of hoping we would get the breaking news while we were on tonight. Alas, it's not meant to be. I'm going to do a Friday Night Freak Show tomorrow night, but I'm going to be flying solo. No guest host this week. So Friday Night Freak Show tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Just me bringing you some bullshit news. Here's a baby deer kissing a baby, and you get a bonus dog in the background. I'm sorry, the baby's going to try to eat the deer. Maybe the deer's going to try to eat the baby. It's a hell of a present that baby opened. I wish I had some to light up. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. Deer is yummy. Deer is yummy. I'm from Eastern Kentucky. Oh, Spider Pickle. Your cousin lives in Lewiston. I hope they are still sheltering in place. His card is still on the run. It looks like he got a deer for a present. What a cute fucking deer, too. Lean venison is tasty. Go ahead, like what? Babies are tasty, too. Both of them. You could fry up either of those and have your good lunch. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We'll see you tomorrow night.